thanks for coming. We got Mike and Coach Odom. Raise your hand if you got a question. Tom, you want to start us off?
Yeah, Coach Odom, real quick. Why do you think you can win consistently at Purdue?
Well, I think there's a number of reasons on why, and you look at the tradition-rich history that this program has and athletics department. You look at the leadership with the athletics director and those in leadership roles that it's aligned, and the commitment that they have shown in every single area once we started our discussions. I feel very, very strongly that we can get that done on a fast track. I was able to compete here as an opposing coach not too long ago, and I saw the tremendous fan support led by the students, and it was something that I'll remember forever. And the components geographically, and then the high school recruiting. There's great coaches in the state and surrounding area. Recruiting will be obviously vital to our success. Not only high school recruiting, but the ability to attract student athletes here in the world of transfer. So there's a number of things that I believe in on the reasons why, and those would be some of the main points on how we're going to start getting this done.
Barry, you mentioned having explosive offense. Last time Purdue saw you, Drew Lock was throwing for 1,000 yards at UNLV. It was a kind of a complex running game. What's your general philosophy on how you want to build explosive offense at Purdue?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, you can have schematically how you want to attack and run an offense, defense, or kicking game. First and foremost, it's built around the roster that you have. You've got to create opportunities for your players on how your makeup of the roster is currently. Don't ask them to do something they can't do. We've got to be great teachers. We've got to be great evaluators. And then we've got to build an offense or a defense and a kicking game around the strengths of our players. And then we've got to be great teachers in making them and teaching them and understanding the reasons why we're calling the play and how important their job is to get that done. But I think offensively speaking, we've got to have the ability to run the ball. Okay, and that is going to certainly open up the vertical passing game. I think the more now in college sport and football, when you can get the ball in space with great playmakers, down the field, intermediate routes with a great quarterback, that's going to turn into explosive plays, which will create touchdowns.
Back right, Nate.
For Mike, did you have to account for the unknowns of the next year and beyond as much as the challenges you know are ahead? And if so, how did that help lead you to Barry?
Give me which unknowns?
I guess just the unpredictability of what's coming next. I think that's kind of the point, right? That there's a lot of the ground's kind of shifting beneath our feet.
Absolutely.
All the time.
So yeah, I think as we were thinking about how we would move forward, we wanted somebody that could grasp and find a strategy to operate effectively in what college football and college athletics are going to look like beginning in 2025. As I mentioned out in the arena there, I think Barry's shown an ability to adapt to the environment, to do incredibly good work in flipping a roster almost instantaneously at UNLV to where they had great success. And so being able to do that and now having the added sort of impetus of significant resources to be able to apply to that, I think even gives us a better opportunity. As I've said a number of times, I believe that as the world turns here in 2025, when we move into the revenue sharing environment, that the world comes back to Purdue in some ways. We are going to operate at the full cap. We're going to be as resourced as anybody in the country, allowing Barry and his staff that ability to go out there and be eyeball to eyeball with everybody we're competing with from a transfer and/or high school recruiting perspective. I think gives me great confidence knowing his track record of being able to do it at a place where they had little to no resources, but now arming him and his crew with everything they need. I think I'm very excited about what can happen.
Sam.
Barry, you mentioned that you adapt to the players you have, but at some point that kind of shifts to recruiting the players to adapt to your system.
Sure.
How do you balance that in a transition period? And I guess kind of what is your idea of roster construction with the 105 model and also maybe a roster construction from a coaching staff standpoint?
Yeah, I think that's a great question and a lot of different layers to it. The ability that I had a team meeting yesterday, and I want everybody that was in that team meeting to stay through the process, because I believe for them We're going to build it early on hope, vision, and belief, and then there's going to be some validation, and then they're going to look back at it as the most rewarding athletic experience that they've ever been through. We all know that rosters change, and some of the guys that I met with yesterday most likely won't be still on the team because they've chosen to do other things. If we didn't have any transfer, we would be the only school in college football that didn't. We would be very, very unique in that capacity. So I think, number one, keep the group that we've got. Let's start training them on the habits that will produce championship habits, and then be very select and direct on not only high school recruiting, but then attracting players that want to come play here, whether they've got multi-years left or 1 year left. We've got a really good track record and an opportunity that I've looked at since I've been here now the last day and a half. This is a highly attractable place that there's a lot of guys that will want to come play here. So I think there's a balance on how you look at that, how you structure it. You've got to have, from freshman to senior class, there's got to be some sort of equality on what that looks like throughout the roster. There's going to be times where you have, we had this past year 30 seniors on our roster at UNLV, and that's becoming a little bit of the norm where that senior class is a little bit heavier because of the transfer. So I think, number one, galvanizing the group that we have, try to get them in position to play winning football and understanding what the foundation looks like. And then we add to that not only in the next signing period, but as the portal continues to stay open on how we can attract players to be here.
Barry, out there you talked about, kind of embracing the culture that Purdue's had. How do you balance that with establishing your own culture and what you want to do for Purdue?
Well, the great thing is, historically, the culture here would be a very descriptive word of the things that I believe in: blue collar, hard nosed, tough, disciplined brand of football. That also in the Tiller days on scoring a lot of points and how they did it. And if I had Drew Brees at quarterback, I'd be throwing the thing around the yard a lot too. But again, we've got such opportunity now in the world of college football on bringing guys into the program, but once they get here, then it's Purdue and our way on the things that we do and the things that we believe in that are going to give us the opportunity to have success. So I'm excited about building the roster. I'm excited about what we've got coming back. I would like to retain all of them, but understand I've got to be very, very aggressive in building the roster for next year. And then foundationally, you look at being able to evaluate, attract high school kids, and then develop them in your program in the ways that you can to make sure year 1, year 2, year 3, we have a rise in what we do developmentally in the program.
Yeah, Barry, are you going to have a competitive NIL collective for you to be able to retain talent and also get talent out of the portal?
Yes, as Mike said, I think we'll be as aggressive and competitive as anybody that we're going up against. I believe in that. And now being here on the ability to be able to attract student athletes, I'm more excited today than I was 2 days ago when I arrived. And I think there's opportunities on guys that will want to come play here, and for a number of reasons, because they're going to be coached by great coaches. They've got an opportunity to graduate from one of the most prestigious universities in America, and then we're going to win, and we're going to do it in a way that prepares them for life after sport, but also to go and compete and get drafted in the NFL.
Barry, you called this a dream come true job for you. What about this role was attractive to come here and leave UNLV after 2 seasons?
Yeah, you look at the leadership in the AD's chair. You look at leadership on campus. That alignment adds up. Their vision of what they want the football program to be is exactly what I do. They want to compete and win championships, and then they're going to resource it the way to help us get that done. So that, number one, okay, the ability to play in the Big Ten Conference was very, very attractive to me. The geographic location in the Midwest is where I'm from and believe in, and think that we can turn this team into a winner really quickly.
Go back to Nathan.
Barry, have you already determined which staff members, support staff, other people are coming with you?
Yeah, there's ongoing conversations with a number of folks, and out of respect for some of the coaches that we will bring here playing in bowl games, I've got a really good list of guys that are certainly attracted to wanting to work here. I think it's a prestigious opportunity for people to look at and understand there's great growth that's going to take place here. So in the next few days, we'll have some that join us from outside. I don't want to put a time frame on that because I may miss it a couple of days with bowl competitions going on, and then the ability to get them here on what that looks like out of respect on what they're trying to finish with their seasons. But we will put together an elite staff that will help us get this off the floor and moving in the right direction really quickly.
And just as a follow-up to that, I mean, it's been natural now. Coaches moving up in Group of 5 tend to bring players with them. Have any of your UNLV players made that contact with you initially? How are you handling kind of that delicate balance? And also,
you know, I had such great relationship with every place that I've been in and players. And I think if you do it right, it's one of the most rewarding relationships you can have in life, the coach to player. It's built on trust, it's built on openness, honesty, love, and I feel responsible to make sure they get their college degree and then make them the best player they can be. And my vision for them, not only at my previous stop, but everywhere I've been, is to make sure when they leave our program that they've got an opportunity to be better husbands, better dads, better fathers, better sons, and make our society a better place. So the culture that we have established over the years is would align to being described as a family. We will have a number of guys that will want to follow us from the different stops that I've been, or maybe have missed out in a recruiting battle with somebody they're somewhere else, and then they want to come back and play for me and for our staff. So that's ongoing, and you know, the portal is open. There will be guys that have an opportunity to get in, and we'll have conversations at that point. I would look at the opportunity for some of those guys that have interest in doing that I would certainly be open to the conversation.
For Mike, the commitment Purdue's made with revenue sharing coming, can you put a number on that, and can you detail it in terms of how you came to that money, how that money gets dispersed down from not only sports, but the sports to the individual athletes?
Probably won't give you all that, Brian, but the revenue sharing cap is the same across the board. It's $20.5 million. Purdue is going to be at $20.5 million, and football will participate in that in a very significant way, which is, I think, the norm in the Big Ten is that everybody's going to make a significant commitment to football. We are doing exactly the same, and I think Coach and I have talked about what that looks like from a football perspective. We haven't detailed out yet exactly who gets what. I mean, that's all way down the line here. If yet to come, that really will be at Coach Odom's recommendation, and we'll jointly figure that out. But we will, again, have every resource that anybody else has available to us.
It's not a blanket number, though, for each athlete, right? It's a as-needed kind of at the discretion of the...
Yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Mike, you heard Barry say blue collar out there. You listed the years and years he put into getting to the point where he's at.
Yes, sir.
How much of the attraction was that kind of, it fits the Purdue model of the blue collar, the guy who's going to work hard and work his way up?
I think as we work through the field of folks, I mean, that persona of Barry's and what I believe will be an immediate sort of resonation with our community certainly was a value add. I mean, it's not the only thing, but in this case, I think, my God, the fit is going to be so close and so complete that I think it just will allow things to get done in a lot quicker fashion. You know, our success has always been when we recruit young people in any sport that buy into the whole Purdue experience and that buy into that model. And when you have a head coach that embodies the Purdue experience and the Purdue persona, I think that it just all works together a whole lot better. So I just really think that the way Barry goes about his work, the way his staff will go about their work, the personality that our program will take on immediately will really resonate with the type of young players and young guys that will ultimately lead us to success. I mean, that's how we get it done here. We never trick anybody into coming into Purdue. It doesn't work. You know, they're here for a short time and then they're gone. It's people that understand that, hey, when you come to Purdue, you've got to be a student for real. You've got to be willing to work. And from a football perspective now, you've got to be willing to put it in. You've got to put that work in every single day. You've got to be welcome the discipline, welcome the structure. And if you do that, I think really good things will happen. And then I think, you know, Barry, it took 3 seconds to figure out that that's who he is. I mean, at our very first conversation, I think we both got off the phone saying, you know what, I think we're wired very similarly, and I think in this case that's going to be a tremendous partnership and a chance for us to really sort of the whole become greater than the sum of the parts, which is how great things happen.
Casey?
Barry, how will you define success in the short term and the long term here at Purdue?
I think you look at the development of your student athletes in every area, socially, academically, obviously athletically. We'll have benchmarks that we set out, goals that we set out, individual offense, defense, kicking, win-loss record, bowl games, Big Ten championship, expanded playoffs. I mean, ultimately, we want to be playing in Indianapolis, and then we want to be in a position to have a seat at the table. That's the ultimate. So that's what we're working for. That's our vision. That's my mindset. And we're going to be every decision that I make, that our team makes, that everybody that touches our players will pour into that. And I don't want to put any restraints or self-restrictions on us because of anything that's happened here before we started today. And everything that we do after today, up until the first opportunity that we get to go compete in the arena, we've got a long ways to go and a short time to get there. But nobody in college football has more time than we do. Everybody gets exactly the same amount of time every single day. How can we use our time to put ourselves in position to go play winning football? And it's a process that I believe very, very strongly with strong conviction on the roadmap on to getting that done. So right now they hand away a conference title, and then if you win that, you're in the expanded playoffs. That's our goal.
Barry, I'm sure you're going to have a general manager. Can you talk about the role of that general manager within your program?
Yeah, I think, you know, title-wise, there's a number of different ways that you can divide up a staff. You know, obviously you've got 10 assistant coaches, and then you'll have graduate assistants, analysts. Now we've moved into the world, you know, at Mizzou years and years ago as a graduate assistant, then I became the director of recruiting. And then it was a department of one, which is kind of exhilarating because you were in charge of it all. Now we've got a department of probably way too many people. So we'll get a really good feel of what that looks like. You know, the general manager role, as you asked specifically about, I think a lot of oversight in rev share and what that looks like, and being aggressive with how you can capitalize on those things, the ability to connect and the opportunities to continue to build here in the next few months, our collective on how important that will be to get us to, you know, it's got to be a sprint through the finish line, not just a gradual finish until rev share kicks off. So very aggressive in that market, but also with oversight and leadership in a lot of areas in our program, from assisting in recruiting, assisting in developing our current team and student athletes, and then helping the transition on the new faces that we have in the program.
What did you learn in your 2 years at UNLV that you can now apply to a place where there are more resources? You know, you had to work the portal there at UNLV and do a little bit more with less. How did you kind of grow as a coach here the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think you always learn from your experiences, as I mentioned on the floor, good and bad. You know, we did. There were things there that when we took the job, as every job, there are problems. There's also solutions. Mm-hmm. So just like any new start, there's going to be things you have to navigate through. We understood how to capture what we needed to there and what would make what we thought immediate success. And in a program that for the last 40 years hasn't had much success, but we also recruited the right way for the student athletes. We had really good leadership from Eric Harper, the director of athletics. And then we had a group full of assistant coaches. They're probably the best group that I've been around in a long, long time on just their willingness to work. And then the ability for our guys, our student athletes and our team, for their habits to align to be great. And anything that we put in front of them, they went and attacked. So that was unique in that way on how fast they were hungry for structure and discipline. And some of them didn't know it, but then once we got started into the process, then it was as complete of an organization and team functioning on all levels as I've been a part of. And I think through vision, through alignment, through communication, then that will be the same case here.
Any more questions for either Coach or Mike? Nathan?
Barry, you've already had a lot of questions about NIL stuff. Obviously, the Matthew Sluga situation was one that got some attention with your program last year. I guess just what are you telling prospective portal players about that situation, and why they shouldn't think that's indicative of something that would happen with your staff in the future?
Yeah, I think every story you would look at what you're able to say and what is the truth, what's the reality, and what's fabricated. So I think you look at that specific instance, there was very open communication from the day the recruiting process started. And then the ability that we got into the season and the competition that continued to maintain at that position in playing multiple quarterbacks. And then it went into the level of an NIL dispute that everything that we did as a staff, as a university, as an athletic department was by the book and by the law. And I feel very, very strongly about how we handled that. I wish Matthew great success at his next stop. He's a wonderful young man, and I think he will go somewhere and play really well.
Anything else?